it's not over, KB. No,
it's over and I won.
It's over and
I won.
You guys I don't get to respond to him.
What is up, football fans, but most importantly, UFL fans? Welcome to episode 4 of Polar Opposites. It's all tied up, and we got some of what I believe are going to be my favorite topics to discuss. I know Webb has been waiting for this one, but before we do that, we got to roll that music. So today, as always, it is your boy Ace fighting your boy, your boy Webb, our host, KB, and then in our ears, Kenny. It's the dream team, and I wouldn't change it for the world. All right. So, Webb, we're all tied up. I mean, you were really pulling out early, and then let's bring up the polls. Kenny, can you bring those polls up for me? Look at that, dude. You got swept. You didn't get swept. You got demolished.
We're only 3 weeks. We were only 3 weeks in. It's got to be entertaining TV, right? It's got to be entertaining YouTube, right? I got to let you win, man. I chose the wrong side. You had the easy layup. Skip Holtz. Who wasn't going to pick Skip Holtz, right? Battlehawks.
You?
That was a closer vote than I expected, actually. And then
I don't know, man. On YouTube, you got
everyone's sleeping smoked. Everyone's sleeping on the Roughnecks. I stand by that. And they chose the Showboats because they got the fancy Pro Bowl team over there in Memphis with a cool coach. So
everybody,
I knew I was going to lose.
Everybody's sleeping on the Roughnecks. It kills me. But the thing I like to put the Twitter and the YouTube polls on here because I think the YouTube poll is the most true poll, right? Because on there, we are not like on Twitter. You quote tweeted the one with the Defenders and Battlehawks jerseys, which one was better. And the only reason it got that close was because your beer steaks came to your aid, right?
Yeah, they did.
And they still couldn't beat it. And I didn't even really do anything on that because the Battlehawks are just, call is law on Twitter there. But on YouTube, those are much more true because we're not quote tweeting them. We're not doing any of that. I just put the poll up on YouTube and it does what it does. And I'm impressed. 112 votes on that jersey one, and the Battlehawks killed it. 68 votes on the coach. Holtz won, but I mean, only by 59%. And then, people sleep on the Roughnecks, dude. People do not believe in our quarterback, and it hurts my soul. It hurts my soul because not only is he the best looking quarterback in the league, but the dude is a beast. So I'm happy. All right. Now, we have 3 great topics today. KB, we haven't heard your voice yet. What is our first wonderful topic that we are going to discuss?
All right, gentlemen, our first topic is what is the best defense in the league?
This is the one we've been waiting for, man. This is the one we've been waiting for. We have put this on 3 polls. 3 different polls because we let the fans choose what we're going to discuss. And yes, we missed last week. I didn't say that earlier. We missed last week because life happens, but we kept the polls. We didn't change it, and because we wanted to talk about this one. 3 weeks of polls, and finally they voted for best defense because we had to put some softball awful answer against it so that we could kind of sway the vote. I was like, come on, dude, let us do this. And this is the one where we're homers. And I know you're going to homer the entire episode, but this is my only real homer one. But I want to let you start because you're newer to this team and, maybe you're fresher. Who knows? Tell me why the DC Defenders are the best defense in the league.
So they went 9-1 last year, right? You have to have a decent defense to go 9-1. You have to.
I think so.
What's that?
You'd think so.
Yeah. So you have to have a decent defense. They had 25 sacks out of all 8 teams that are coming back. That's the most sacks. They didn't lose 1 sack from that team last year. Not 1 sack. So all 25 sacks are coming back. Then you add Mr. Harris from the Houston Roughnecks, the OG Roughnecks. That's 9.5 sacks. Tim Ward, the other guy on the Roughnecks, that's another 5 sacks. There was only 1 team in both leagues that had more sacks than the DC Defenders. And that was the Houston Roughnecks. who are now the Brahmas. But if you take away Ward and Harris and add them to the DC total, DC is number one. Then you have Davin Bellamy on the edge, right? So now we already talked about 3 edge guys. 2 are all XFL, Davin Bellamy and Trent Harris. Then we talk about the defensive tackle where I would love to. I know you love your defensive line, and I get it. They're great. They're great. But when we're talking about pass rushing, which is super important in this league because the offensive lines aren't the greatest, getting to the quarterback. If you can get to the quarterback with 4, you'd be able to figure it out. There's 4 guys on the defenders' defensive line that have 2 or more sacks. So you talk about how your team's too deep, and I know you're going to say, we have 2 defensive lines that are great.
Yes.
So do the DC defenders. I'm sorry, there's 5 guys that had multiple sacks. I forgot about Takarius Tisdale, who only played 2 games and had 2 sacks. He sacked Kenny's AJ McCarron twice.
Okay.
So then you got Kenny's in our ear already. Andre Mintz, right? 3.5 sacks. So we talk about sacks, and there's so many sacks, and when you add them all together, there's 39 sacks on that defense coming back in spring football. Then we talk about the linebackers.
Yeah, I'm gonna just talk about D-line. I know we both have great D-lines, but you got to talk about other parts.
I'm going to give you a little hint of one guy. He's a dog, right? I don't have the cigarette. You remember it, being a Gamblers fan.
Dude, I definitely thought you were talking about the flossing that DeMarcus Gates does, and I was like, he is not on your team. No. Yes, the mentality, the fake cigarette from Spencer's that Reggie Northrup put in his mouth when he was in the USFL. Yes.
And then Francis Bernard, who had 51 tackles, Jordan Evans, who played a ton in the NFL with the Cincinnati Bengals, actually played not just a practice squad. And then we talk about a secondary, which is my killer point towards you, because there's 5 NFL draft picks in the defender's secondary. DJ Swearinger played 5 seasons in the NFL where he started 10 or more games. 5 seasons. You probably don't even have that on your team.
No.
50 starts. We have that in one guy. Then you have a first-round draft pick in Conley. Then you have another first-round draft pick in DeAndre Baker, corners. Then you have a third-round draft pick in Isaiah Johnson. Then you have a fourth-round draft pick in Monte Nicholson. Loaded, my friend. And the hashtag defend DC is all over the place. And if you watch Von Hutchins, he uses it every time there's something with DC. It's all about defense, man. And there isn't a team out there that's even close. Like, you're not close. I know you're going to throw out some names and some names that I love personally after covering them for 2 years. Mm-hmm. But when you talk about all the guys on the team, you can't match them. It's as simple as that. You're going to tell me that they gave up a lot of yards last year. That's fine. You're okay. And they made all the changes in the secondary. Deontay Anderson from the Vegas Vipers, all XFL safety. Now he's a linebacker, which is weird today. I found out he's a linebacker.
That's interesting.
Yeah, he was a safety. He was all XFL safety, and on the roster today, he's a linebacker. Maybe it's a misprint. And then Michael Joseph, who might be our third corner right now, right? Had 4 picks and all XFL. So you talk about Davin Bellamy, the only guy that was all XFL and all USFL, right?
Mm-hmm.
The only guy. I can go on and on. This team is so deep with defense, and I know you're gonna. I already know your argument. It's Greg Williams, so I'm gonna let you go.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So Greg Williams, who personally I do love blitzing, and the Gamblers last season, they did do a lot of blitzing, right? They did a lot of blitzing, a lot of disguising coverages, a lot of that stuff. And I love that. Greg Williams does that too, but he does it to a fault. There is no team that has come even close to the percentage of plays that the defenders blitz. And that's insane. You can have as good a secondary as you want. If you're not getting to the quarterback, if they have schemed and they know, Greg's going to bring the blitz nonstop, you are playing cover 0 most of the time, which is incredibly hard. Also, first round pick. They're in the UFL, dude. Everybody's in the UFL. I don't care what they were in the NFL. They obviously aren't there anymore.
But that tells you how talented. That tells you how talented they are.
Tells me how lazy they are.
No, it's absolutely not. DeAndre Baker is injured. DeAndre Baker is injured and he's recovering. Conley, same thing. Like you want to talk about your guy? Okay, go ahead. Reuben Foster, right? He's first-round draft pick. I'll give you props on him. He's super talented.
Yes.
Right? He's super talented.
He's also proven in spring football, where, yes, you guys signed a lot of talent this offseason, but Reuben, last season, I was spitting it all over the place. I was like, we don't know what Reuben's going to look like. We don't know if he's still in shape. He hasn't played in a couple of years, and he came in and he proved me wrong. We saw it with our own eyes. The dude is in game condition right now. He's a beast. And then he proved it, and his defense went to the championship. He put up good stats, and he was still the mainstay of the team. While, like, on that defense, he was still a big name that they were using, even when he was hurt for almost half of the season. The dude still put up good numbers. He had, well, I wrote it down. I might as well just say it. He had 52 tackles. He had a half sack. He had an interception. He had an interception with one hand, basically. Like, he had that club the entire season. We watched him break it. Like, dude, yeah, that's great.
Those stats are equal to Francis Bernard, who I didn't even talk about. He had the same exact stats. 51 tackles.
You definitely brought him up.
I'm telling you right now, though. Like, I brought up Northrop, all that. Francis Bernard. So you're telling me Reuben Foster is equal to Francis Bernard? Okay. So who's your next guy?
The games. All right. So
Francis Bernard played 8.
You started at. Yeah, I'm not including postseason here. Those are completely different stats. 52 tackles in.
Okay. I wasn't either, but okay. Go ahead.
No.
He played 7.
Defensive line. You want to talk about defensive line? Yeah. So we have Chris Odom, who was all USFL, who was Defensive Player of the Year. He had 12 and a half sacks in one season. That was on a defense that had tons of sacks. We had Ahmad Gooden. We had Dominique Davis in the middle. That defensive line was so good, and he still had 12 and a half sacks, which is crazy. Look, all USFL last season, Manny Bunch. This is his highlight tape, but it shows a lot of good plays from a lot of players on the Gambush last season, so I wanted the entire thing. When you talked about Reggie Northrop, there's also a highlight like that where it's just a lot of Reggie Northrop, but it's fun. Dude, Manny comes in all over the place. The thing that I love is that, yes, our defensive coordinator, he really does play to his strengths. Greg Williams has done everything the same everywhere he's ever been, right? He is always blitz.
Whatever.
Well, he's got a Super Bowl ring. That's the NFL.
He's always NFL head coach. Whatever.
Where's his XFL ring? Where's it? Oh, it's on the Arlington Renegades.
Where's Chris Wilson's? Where's Chris Wilson's? Oh, it's 5 and 5. My bad.
But Chris Wilson last season, by the way,
I love Chris Wilson.
I interviewed him. I love Chris Wilson. He's a great guy. When I interviewed him, I said, what is your defensive scheme going to be? What are you doing? And he said, it's going to be whatever the players can do. He said, I'm going to look at the players I have, and I'm going to create the defense around them. And then they went out this offseason, and they picked up tons of talent that only make that better and kind of work with what he did last season. So he was like, this works. We disguise. We do a 4-3 base, 4-2-5. And this defensive line is crazy. So names that you're not going to really pay attention to are names like Bryson Young, who we picked up from the New Jersey Generals, where he's an outside linebacker from Oregon, but he mostly plays down line, but he can definitely jump back and cover and be a legitimate cover guy while also being a legitimate pass rusher. Guys like that. We got a lot of these versatile dual quality guys. Our secondary, maybe not the most impressive names. The Roughnecks are not trying to shine with names. That's not what we're doing. We're picking up people that make sense, that also have to do with what the league wants. The league is supposed to be the league of opportunity. We have Richard Bowens III, RB3. Lionel Vitale told me himself that guy was going to be drafted. He was going to be drafted, and he hurt his leg, and he didn't get drafted at all because people didn't even know if he was going to come back from that injury. Now we got him. I project him as a week 1 starter. He's going to be on the other side of J.J. Johnson, who this is his 4th season in a row in spring football playing for the Houston team. He was a Houston Roughneck. Then he started 2 seasons on the Houston Gamblers, and I bet you he's going to be starting week 1 for the Houston Roughnecks again. He is loved in this town, and he loves this town. He lives in Houston. Then let's just go back to the defensive line. Chris Odom, like I said, 12 and a half sacks. We have Adam Rodriguez on the other side, modern USFL record holder, season 2 all USFL, should have been all USFL season 1. Better stats than Davin Bellamy, because Davin Bellamy got on the field and went rah 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 rah. He got all
absolutely false. Absolutely false.
Absolutely false. Not absolutely false.
Absolutely false.
Once he started starting games, because he was not a starter at the beginning of the season, he immediately jumped up and was like right on the tail. He ended 2nd overall in the league in sacks, right behind Chris Odom. He didn't even start the first 2 games, and then helped get his team to the playoffs.
Wait, so we're still talking about 2022? We're still
That's
talking about
2021, so you don't even know what year I'm talking about. Then
it's actually 2022. You don't know a year because last year is 2023, so it's 2022. So who knows what they're talking about? Go ahead.
Right on that.
All right.
Then Toby Johnson, you were like, oh, there's Devin Bellamy's the only guy who's all USFL and all XFL. I don't care. Toby Johnson was all USFL 2 years in a row. There you go. Nobody can run on that guy. Then we have Keontae Shad, who is also a defensive tackle, and he can get to the quarterback. So we have a defensive tackle who absolutely stuffs the run. We have a defensive tackle that absolutely gets to the quarterback. He put up 7.5 sacks at defensive tackle, which is crazy because people don't really do that from defensive tackle. Dominique Davis had a fantastic season 1 for the Gamblers, went to the NFL, still on the Bengals. He only had a sack and a half. Keontae Shad had 7.5. Then we have Reggie Howard. Then we have Ethan Westbrooks. Then we have guys that were already on the team, Ronheen Bingham, who was on the sack leaderboard the entire season, and Isaiah Chambers, who literally led the league in tackles for loss. Dude, this defensive line is bonkers, but we also have the guys. Adam Rodriguez, he already told me he's fully prepared. He played outside linebacker in college a good amount. He can step back and cover if he needs to. Bryson Young, 100% can step back and cover. Then we have our linebackers who also can come down line and rush the quarterback. We have Ace Ely. I think he's the pickup of the offseason defensively. That dude is an absolute monster. He's like a young Reuben Foster coming out of Georgia Tech. Then we have Reuben Foster. I already talked about him. Then we have JT Daniel, who once he finally got to start and got his shine last year, the dude was tearing it up. He had interceptions. He was getting tackles all over the place. Kalen Tolson, who is way faster than any linebacker needs to be. He is a main reason we beat the Stallions last year because he can run sideline to sideline and he can chase down any mobile quarterback. He can spy the best of them. It's amazing. Our secondary, Manny Bunch, Donald Rutledge Jr. You yourself said that you were absolutely jealous when we picked up Donald Rutledge Jr. from.
Oh, I love him.
That dude is a NFL talent.
No, this is not over, KB. This is not over, KB. No,
it's over and I won.
It's over
and I won.
How come I don't get to respond to him? I don't get to respond to him.
I've been talking for 15 minutes, Webb.
You've been talking for 15 minutes. We have viewers. We got to worry about viewers.
And the viewers want this argument because this was the only argument that we can point out that
most of your defense play last year, and they got torn apart by Luis Perez the 4th week that he was on a team. Don't even come at me with that.
Because TJ Barnes was on the Arlington Renegades. He's a D tackle. Boogie Roberts was in the USFL. He's on the team. Harris, Ward. There's so many guys that they added.
The line wasn't going to change that game. Luis Perez destroyed your linebackers.
Absolutely would be. Because if your defensive line could get to the quarterback with 3 or 4, right, then you can have coverage. Oh, and then you added the coverage guy, the all USFL safety that now is a linebacker. So that's a coverage linebacker that you talk about. Swearinger, who only played 2 games until getting into the playoffs, right? Like you can go down. Kentrell Bryce was solid. Michael Joseph, and then the 2 first-round draft picks that you're just going to discredit. But guess what? Chris Odom had a major injury, but we're gonna praise him because he had 1 good season 2 years ago. DeAndre Baker was a great player, first round pick for the New York Giants. He gets 1 injury, and now we're going to discredit him all the way. But Chris Odom, he went through a similar injury. And we're going to say that he is going to be absolutely fine. So that's all your biases right there. You can't say that injuries affect one person when they took a year off or 2 years off, and then another one it doesn't, right? Because I told you last year Foster was going to be good because he's an SEC talent. He's an NFL first-round draft pick talent. And I think that doesn't go away. As long as you're willing to work. Obviously, they're willing to work if they were able to sign in the UFL.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this.
Oh, boy, here we go.
The 2 of you are so ready to go at each other that you're talking about, Roughnecks defense versus the DC Defender defense. But really, truly, that wasn't the question. The question was, who's got the best defense in the league? So not
the DC Defenders.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Well, we're done now. We're done now then.
I just got one last thing to say. I hope yesterday was Valentine's Day, and I hope your defense sent a card over to Sal Cannella because he made sweet, sweet love to them in that championship game.
All right, we're done. We're going on. We're moving on.
The defense is not the same. It's just like your defense. It's just like your defense.
We're done. We're done. We are done, gentlemen.
All right.
Okay.
What is the second one?
Okay, so we're gonna go to something far less contentious, and Yeah.
Remember, Dream. Hold on, before we move on, Dream.
No.
Defense rules everything around me. Dream.
Listen,
I'm the defensive guy.
Listen, you cannot let me lose control of this show. Okay?
I've already lost control, KB.
We are moving on.
All right. So the second topic
is, let's talk about the best team logo.
All right. Kenny, can you pull up the logo for me? I put a little comparison because I already know what they both are. So I chose the Battlehawks because I think it's a badass logo. And you chose the DC Defenders because this is your Homer episode. We all get a mulligan, and this is yours. So this is the logo. Explain to me how a C inside of a D is cooler than a literal sword with wings.
It's really simple for me. My favorite logos, and I think the best logos of all time, have hidden letters or hidden messages and hidden stuff inside the logo. The D and the C, like the Hartford Whalers, right? The Hartford Whalers are one of my favorite logos of all time. It's got the H and the W in the tail, right? The Milwaukee Brewers, with the hat, with the glove, and it says M and B, and it looks like a baseball glove. I just feel that if you can represent the city with the letters of the city, abbreviations, or the letters of the team, something that means a lot to the city, the logo works. And that's the D and the C with the stars and the stripe, it's red with the city flag being red. I just think it absolutely works. And it's clean. It really is a clean logo. All the XFL teams have a clean logo. Let's be honest. They did a better job on the logos. And I just feel like this represents the city better than any other team does. And it represents the team at the same time.
So you're telling me that the Houston Gamblers logo with the Texas in it and the star at the end of the G that landed on Houston, you're telling me that that's the best logo then because it has the hidden.
That was very cool. That's better than the Battlehawks. I like sword with wings. Come on, man.
Well, come on, dude. We all know that the Houston right here. Yeah. We all know that the Houston Gamblers logo is the best logo in spring football, but it doesn't exist anymore. The Battlehawks logo is sick. It has good colors. The blue pops on the field. The sword is just really cool. If you
tell me the red doesn't pop, the red doesn't pop.
Not on the field, not in the daylight.
Yeah, okay. All right.
If you turn the sword and the wings upside down, it actually is STL. It spells it out in the rebrand.
Upside down, so
they did it.
So
yes,
sword of the wings going
they
down.
literally put STL hidden in the logo. If you flip it, if it's flying at you, you can see it. Well, that didn't work, but yes, it's cool. I like this one even better than the original logo from 2020 that they had. Look at that. There you go. STL.
Oh, so upside down? Upside down. So when they're going
down.
I got you.
The St. Louis Battlehawks actually posted about that. What is yours upside down? Stupid. That's what it is.
I don't look at logos upside down. I don't go, oh, let me see the logo upside down. No one does that. Like
you don't love the game as much as I do. That's why.
Yeah, I'm talking about normal people. Normal people go, oh man, do you see the STL upside down? Come on, man.
Well,
they should have thrown an arch in there. They should have thrown an arch or something in there.
It's like playing Led Zeppelin backwards, dude. It's like that. You're old enough for that, right?
No, that's other people in this show.
Yes, I think it's very cool. It pops. It's something that St. Louis has absolutely gotten behind. When you look at DC Defenders, it represents the city, but it doesn't show anything that means defender. But when you look at this, it's a battle hawk. What is it? It's hawk wings with a sword. It is literally a battle hawk. And then you flip it upside down. It has STL in it. I think it's awesome. Then we have the secondary logos. Kenny, can you bring out the secondary logos? Damn, he had that queued up. I am impressed, my man. Look at that. So, do you know what the secondary logo for the Battlehawks actually is?
It's something military, I'm guessing.
No. It's nothing like that. So, first of all, it is a Battlehawk, right? It's cool. But when they had the coaches draw what they thought their logo looked like. This is what Anthony Beck drew, and then they just modernized it, and it's their secondary logo. And it's the Battlehawk head, and it's sick. And then yours is lightning bolts.
No, it's a shield. It's a shield. Defenders. You get it? Defenders. You protect with
so shield. This one actually has something that has to do with defenders.
And then it also has a D and a C in it.
if you pay attention. I don't have to turn it upside down.
Where?
Right there in the middle, the X. Kenny, show him. I know Kenny sees it. Right there, the D. I can't show you because you can't see my hand, but right in the middle where the X is. Isolate.
Come on, Webb. We've known each other long enough.
It's right there in the middle. Like the D. See where the X is in the middle? That's a D and a C, right there. So they have.
I legitimately did not see that when you told me.
You don't have to turn it upside down.
And he's in my ear saying he doesn't see anything. I cleaned it up what he said, but he said he didn't see anything.
He's gonna always choose the Battlehawks stuff. He's in our ear all the time. Exactly. That's
Is it upside down? Personally, I think the shield looks better upside down.
Upside down.
I know it just looks like the Pentagon, but I think it looks better upside down. Upside down, the Battlehawk doesn't look like anything.
And the shield being a Pentagon is also another tip of the hat to DC.
The Pentagon.
It's just awesome. It works.
I think the Battlehawks is sick. The colors are cool. You know, you have one cool color. It's just the red. And then the Battlehawks have the red and the silver. And I think that the blue logo really pops off their like silver helmets and stuff. Where just the red and the
on
white.
On their faded turf, it looks great.
Hey, I'm not talking about the turf. I'm not talking about the turf. But I think that the Battlehawks have the coolest logo. When you look at it, like if you show any kid, because kids just know what's cool, right? If you show any kid all the logos, they're probably going to go to the Battlehawks and the Brahmas. I'd have given it to you if you said the Brahmas, because the Brahmas is a sick logo. But I think the Battlehawks is just the coolest. Like the sword with the wings. It's just, they were like, what's a Battlehawk? And they were like, what's the first two things that come to mind? And they were like, it's perfect. Put it on there. Wings and a sword. And it's sick.
It's terrible, man. Awesome. It should be creative all the time, and it's not.
All right. All right.
If they didn't have AJ McCarron, they might be my second favorite team.
All right. Gentlemen.
I don't technically have AJ McCarron.
Not yet.
As of recording.
He might get picked up by the LA Chargers. Who knows?
Yeah.
He might get claimed off waivers, which would be the funniest thing that ever happened in the history of spring football. Oh, that'd be so good. But now,
okay, ready?
The third topic.
Let's talk about what do you think that the best week one matchup is going to be?
Webb, go ahead.
I'm going first all week this week.
Oh, I went first on that one. I said Battlehawks.
That's the layup one. All right. It's my homer episode, but I have a reason behind it. So DC lost in the championship last year in San Antonio. They're going back to the scene of the crime, right? They're going back to the scene of the crime where they lost to the Renegades. DC is a team that has changed a lot on defense, as we discussed in the previous segment. Their defense needed to improve. The offense is coming back, player of the year, and your boy Abrams coming back with all the receivers. And they're going against, I'm going to call them the Houston Roughnecks, right?
Literally.
Yeah. Who went 7-3 last year? Let's not forget. Like they went 7-3. You love Dormady, right? Like
Dormady's beast. Everybody's disrespecting my boy Dormady and Reed Sennett online. Those two QBs, I hope they're 1-2. I hope they prove everybody wrong. Side note.
So if you take the two records of the two teams matching up over last year, this is the best matchup. They're 16-4 because I'm not calling them the Brahmas. They're the OG Roughnecks for right now.
Brown necks.
The Brown necks, and you're the Gamble necks.
Gamble necks.
So this is the best matchup. When they did meet the Roughnecks and the DC, it was a 37-26 game. It was rather entertaining. Both teams sacked the quarterback a lot, so they're going to come. Well, Wade Phillips is going to come with pressure. Greg Williams is going to come with pressure. Week one, the offensive lines aren't completely gelled, so it could be a big sack week for Trent Harris, right? He can get 3-4 sacks, which would set the league to get some recognition in the media outlets if someone's able to stand out like that. So I think this game means a lot. It's not the headline where you're going to go with, but I think there's two solid teams here that if you have quality, and it's Easter weekend, so people will be watching TV with their families, and you could get some people in. It's on Easter Sunday, which our Brahmas guy said, hey, we're a Catholic city down here. People aren't really too excited about it. But I think this is one of those games that could get the casual fans that really don't know about the whole history, because you're going to tell me the other game that means a lot. But I think these two teams are going to be very good. I think I had them both in my top 5, so I think they're the only matchup that it has 2 of my top 5 teams. I'm looking forward to this one, Easter Sunday, Defenders and Brahmas. So,
no, I think it's going to be a good game. I don't think people are going to care that much. I think that game, people see the Brahmas, and you're right. You make a good point, dude. The Brahmas are a much better team. They're the Roughmas, right? They're basically the Houston Roughnecks of old. And that's going to be a good game. I think it could be a very good game. Maybe a defensive battle, which doesn't pull great ratings, but it could be a good game. But people aren't going to care because they see Brahmas and they're like, nah, they got 3 wins last season. Not great. But the game that I believe is going to be the game, it's going to matter. It's going to pull the most numbers by far. But I think it could honestly be a blowout. It really could. But it is still the best matchup going into week 1 for all the reasons surrounding the game. Kenny, bring up my graphic. Oh, I think these graphics are so cool. I made them today, and I love them. But the Renegades and the Stallions, it's the 2 championship teams. It's the teams that they literally used to promote the league when they announced it on ESPN, when they announced it on College Game Day, because it does matter. Because since the XFL came back in 2023 and the USFL was having a season 2, everybody online has had the fight. We had the fight. Webb, we fought it on the USFL side on USFLA. Which side is better? USFL? XFL? And we finally kind of get to see, right? Like, a lot of people are going to look at this game, and the winner, they're going to say that side is better, even though it might not be right. The Birmingham Stallions might absolutely railroad the Renegades, and people are going to say the USFL is better. And it's like, well, the Renegades might be the worst team in the XFL division or conference this year. So it might not actually mean that much in the long run, but the story that they can build behind it, kind of the spring football lore that is going to go with it. We get to see possibly Matt Corral or Adrian Martinez starting at quarterback for the Stallions, which are big names and will pull a lot of ratings. Vic Beasley over there on the Renegades. I think this is just a good game. And then the last thing I have about it is that it is in the hub city. This is in Arlington. So it means that all the other teams, the teams that play the next day, maybe some players that didn't get to make it, they're going to be at the game. The people who are hurt, maybe they're not active. It's in the city, right? This is the XFL base. It's the hub. They're going to have probably the most staff and stuff there. This is just the game of the week. It is definitely the game of the week. It might not be the best matchup as far as teams facing each other. It might not even end up being the best game, but going into the weekend, this is the one people are watching. This is the one people want to see.
Yeah, if we're going to go on viewership, I think you're right. But the question was best matchup.
Best matchup. This is the best matchup. The best matchup is the one people watch.
Okay, can someone pull up the power rankings?
Also,
this is
going
1 versus 8.
We're talking about going into
this is 1 and 8. This is 1 versus 8. Like, if anyone's paying attention,
our power rankings,
because it's the worst team. Like, the Renegades are the worst team. Let's be very, very clear. They are the worst team. The Stallions are probably the best team, right? Like without question. You put on your own Twitter, the rich get richer this week, right? When they get Gates and Matt Corral, guys that are in NFL locker rooms basically all year and the last 2 years. Like, without a doubt, this is the worst matchup of all of them, because you got 1 versus 8, right? And then you got DC playing the Brahmas. That's 2 versus 6. I guess yours would probably be the best matchup, right?
I think it could be. I'm very excited. For those wondering, I will be at the Arlington and Birmingham game. And then the next day, I will be at the Showboats Roughnecks game. It's going to be amazing. I'm very excited.
If you want to talk best matchup, that's a better matchup.
That's probably it. That is probably the best matchup. to be honest.
Like all season, all off season, the Renegades, TJ Barnes, starting D tackle, is now on DC Defenders. Like, how do you give up one of you're a champion team? That's not happening with the Birmingham side. The Birmingham side is bringing back people, and then if they're not, they're bringing back, Tazzino and Gilbert and just from the USFL side, Channing Stribling, and then they go get Matt Corral, and then they have so much more talent. It's not the best matchup. It is just not. Like Bob Stoops, I love the guy. He's a great coach. I argued it last week, right, against Skip Holtz. But when you look at the rosters, it's not close, man. It's just not close.
I agree, dude. Rosters, 100%. 100%. The scales are lopsided when we're talking about my game. But I think that when the layman football fan looks at the matchups, 80% of them are circling this as the best matchup. It's the one that everybody wants to see, man. I'm not saying it's going to be the best game, but I am saying the most anticipated game going into the weekend, the matchup everybody wants to see is this one.
Spend Easter Sunday with the Houston-Memphis matchup and spend it watching San Antonio. Those are the best matchups.
Those are by far the best games. Those are going to be great games. I think that they could come down to the wire. It's going to be like the Showboat Stars season opener last year in Memphis, which I was at. That was really cool. This is going to be the second year in a row I get to be at opening weekend and see two games. This one just involves like a 5-hour drive between the games. But it's a fun time. I'm very excited. All right. Well, I guess we have beaten that to death. And honestly, we're only at 38 minutes. We really flew through those second ones. I was going to say something inappropriate.
Cut off all momentum.
We killed it over there.
I'm trying to keep us on track, gentlemen.
But here we go. We got a blindside, right?
We do.
All right. So, KB, you are the one who leads KB's blindside because it's literally your name. What is the blindside question that we have today?
The blindside question is, I want to, the rule changes were announced this week. I want to know your least favorite and your most favorite.
I think we can agree on this one.
I did give Kenny the slides that were released from the league in case you need your memory refreshed.
Oh, okay. Well, what's your favorite? I'm interested. I'm assuming 2 feet.
Yeah, 2 feet by far. 2 feet is by far the best rule. I also, number 2 is the spot file for pass interference, and then they'll kind of review it if it was intentional, because like the Alabama special, Stallion fans gonna crush me because I always down. But Nick Saban is right. Like, take advantage of the rule. Like, if you're really 100%. Beat, take them down. But they're able to review that or look at it, and if they deem it intentional, then
it becomes a spot foul.
Then it becomes a spot foul, and I'm all for that. So those are my 2 favorite rules.
Yeah,
yours?
No, mine is the defensive pass interference. So a little bit about me. Growing up playing football, I was a corner. So being not the fastest guy and of a paler complexion, my father told me, he said, hey, in high school, defensive pass interference is only 15 yards. If you're about to get blown past, rip that dude down. Because while I'm not the biggest or fastest guy, I am the strongest as far as receivers and secondary go. I was always the strongest. And so if I got my hand on a receiver, he was about to blow past me, I ripped him down real quick. I pulled them off their feet because I was like, you're not going to get past me. And then, once I started getting into the NFL, when I was in like the 5th and 6th grade, and my dad started explaining rules, the first time I saw defensive pass interference in the NFL, I was like, dude, holy crap, they just gave them the field. What just happened? My dad explained it to me. I was like, that's broken. So I felt one wasn't enough and one was too much. It was very broken because, a lot of times at the end of the game, a smart play in the NFL is to just throw it up and hope that they get defensive pass interference and that you'll get another play and a ton of yardage. And I think that's a broken system. I didn't like it. So it actually did excite me when they dropped the rules and I read through it and I was like, wow, they actually made the defensive pass interference rule Like it might be, this might be the way that it should be. And this might be one of the rules that the NFL actually adopts and actually adopts quickly. You know, people talk about the kickoff, they talk about the extra points, all that BS, the overtime. No, this DPI, if it goes well this season, the NFL might adopt it this offseason. That is a great rule. I like that rule. Now, least favorite rule? I don't know. What's your least favorite?
The extra point. I know, like I'm a get off the lawn type of guy. When I know that no one tunes in to watch a kicker kick an extra point. Like I get that. And the fact that you have to do a 2-yard play for 1 point, I don't know. Give me the kicker. I'm a traditionalist when it comes to the extra point. I like the 3-point. I like the 2-point. I like the onside option in the fourth quarter. I like all that stuff. I just feel like the 1 point, if you just give it to the kicker, but at the same time, making extra points is not going to get the Brandon Aubreys. That's not the reason why he was in the NFL.
It was his field goals. Yeah,
it was his field goals. So it's not killing them, but at the same time, it does give them less opportunity to shine. So
it does. But I liked, somebody brought up today, or I think they brought it up. They may have, people really hammered Buck and Scout on their YouTube video. They really came at them in the comments. Someone said some really mean words, but they said, extra points should be a gimme. And in the NFL, they're not always a gimme. Like people are missing extra points. Like Brandon Aubrey was on his way to set the record for field goals, and he had already missed 2 extra points this season in the NFL. I think taking away the extra point almost just gets rid of that. So the NFL scouts are going to look at you and assume that you will hit those extra points, right? Which is kind of good for the kickers. But another thing, a thing I don't like about it, and this is why it's my least favorite, is last year watching a lot of XFL games. If they came down and they scored a touchdown and they missed the extra point, like going for it from the 2, I don't like seeing a lot of 6-0 games. It looks less exciting, and it looks less like football on TV when each team has scored a touchdown and it's 6-6. Football, it's the game of sevens. And so if you don't see a 7 on the scoreboard, if you don't see some kind of multiplier of 7, it looks strange. And so I didn't like that games were like 6-3 after a team had scored a fantastic touchdown, and then they just had a lackluster 2-yard play, or they went for it. I think it would be cool if you could go for it from the 2-yard line for one if you wanted, but you could also kick an extra point. I think that would be better. You should still have the option, in my opinion. But if you don't want to, you can just go for it. Like, say your kicker gets hurt, then you can go for it from the 2 for the extra point. I don't know, but I don't like getting rid of it altogether. I understand it, and I think it might actually help the kickers, but I don't like the way it looks on television.
Yeah, but the USFL kickoff coming
Love
back.
That. Love that.
I don't like the punting rule.
I don't either.
Where if it goes out of bounds, like that's the point of the punter.
Touchback.
Kick it. Yeah, but to kick it out of bounds at the 1. You know what I mean? Like that is what their job. Like the NFL teams will want guys to do that. So
one of Brandon's top 3 plays, because remember when we first really started diving into YouTube, I was trying to make YouTube shorts and I was making top 3 plays of each team. And one of Brandon's favorite plays from the Bandits was a coffin corner punt. And now they've virtually eliminated them. And I don't like that.
Yeah,
I probably like that less than the extra point thing.
I get it because they're trying to encourage scoring. And it's the same thing with the kickoff. It's more exciting plays. I get it.
Yeah. Better field.
They want more eyeballs on the product, and they're trying to encourage scoring because scoring sells. So I get what they're trying to do here, but at the same time, I don't think it helps the punters. Like I feel like
it makes it much harder for a punter to move up.
Like the ironic thing is, so the NFL basically took away returning, right? Especially kick returning. But the USFL or the UFL is trying to encourage the kick returning. And then they're not punishing the kickers and the punters with these rule changes, but they're not giving them their NFL opportunity, like that game situation for those positions. So I think it favors scoring, it favors the offensive players. But the specialists get a little left out here.
They get what Nargangs like to call the shaft.
The shaft.
Yeah. Yes. So. Something I want to point out, not related to this at all, is when we first started, me, you, and KB way back in the day, we started what was the USFL network then. Our first real big show that we put out was Polar Opposites. It was me and you, and we were debating. It looked like crap. It didn't look good. But I was covering the Houston Gamblers, and you were covering the New Orleans Breakers. And right now, we are wearing shirts that we were possibly wearing in one of those episodes. I'm wearing a Houston Gamblers shirt, and you're wearing the blue polo that you wore fedora with.
Probably.
So that's a cool little throwback for me. That.
Oh my goodness.
No way.
No way.
Why was it there? Why was it queued up? I had no idea we were going to do
that. Well, I like the whole time. If you watch this episode, when you watch this back, when you watch this episode, my hand keeps going to the left because I'm like, all right, this is the time to pull it out.
This is the put it on.
Oh my goodness.
I queued it up perfectly.
I'm shocked.
But I didn't even know. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think we're done.
Well,
I think we're done.
Put it up. We're going to post the polls. We're going to post polls on YouTube and Twitter.
I'm bringing this back.
I have a feeling that belt will show up next week, but here we go. See you guys next week. Vote on the polls on Twitter and YouTube. See you guys.